Okay, it is 7 o'clock. Welcome to the September 10th meeting of the Park and Rec Commission. We will start with roll call.
Brittany Singer.
Deb Murphy. Dave? David?
David Joy.
George Bennington? Green. Tim Punko?
Melanie Hurd.
Susan Leoni.
Lindsay Heron.
Gene Goodman. Great, thank you. Next order of business is to approve the minutes from our July 9th meeting. Is there a motion to approve? Lindsay, thank you. Is there a second? Jeff, thank you. All those in favor?
I
Dave?
vote yes.
Dave needs your vote.
David.
Aye.
I thank you.
George. Excuse me, I have put Brittany, I was not there.
Okay, one abstention, okay. Anybody opposed? Abstentions? Two abstentions? So it carries. Okay, we have, again, welcome to you all. We do have a packed agenda tonight. I'm gonna need to change the batting order a little bit because Aggie's got to teach a class. So Aggie, the floor is yours.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. I'm the director of the Lapham Community Center, and we had a wonderful 2025. Yeah, the attendance, we are just at 30,000 visits per year with over 1,500 unduplicated members using the building. The residents using the building, it feels like they're just all mahjongers all the time. They did play mahjong all day long, every day. 25 separate New Canaan nonprofits are using the facility, from the New Canaan Men's Club to Encore to the Artisans to the CERT, EMS, Fire, Police. Everybody's using the building, some during the day, some in the evening. And we also have a lot of residents that book a time in the building to have their book group, or have their 4 mahjongers, or have their 36 canasta players. They call us and they book a time and they use the building. I want to thank the town for all the upgrades we got this summer. We got new carpets, we got new sidewalks, we got new lighting in the parking lot. They worked on the heating and air conditioning system. Pretty much the last 2 weeks of August, 3 weeks of August, we've got a lot of stuff done. And John Howe and Anna and Bill Osman and Tiger Man, they did a fabulous job. So we're very thankful. We're in pretty good shape. So for fall of 2025, we have 32 special events from September to November. Many of our fall programs are sold out or at capacity. Lots of them are free because we're using up the end of the state grant. We have 6 monthly community events: blood pressure clinics, ask an attorney, Medicare appointments, over 60 weekly classes, art and music, history, languages, cooking, exercise, games. All of them are, I think we had to cancel 2 classes, that's it, of all of them. Every single one is at capacity. Every day, 2 and 3 times a day, our rooms are booked. We have 10 rooms and they're booked every 2 or 3 times each day. And then this room here is booked every hour on the hour, Monday through Thursday, starting from 9 to 3.
Wow.
So a lot of planning. We are now gearing up for the biggest program that we do, which is Medicare Part D. Starts on October 15th. It runs to December 7th. We see over 400 residents. It's like putting a doctor's appointment on top of all the stuff that we do at Lapham. So, last year we saw over 400 residents and we saved over $384,000 to the residents. And this year, we don't know what it's gonna look like. Every year is a new adventure. We don't know what the plans are gonna look like yet from the government, so we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And that's where we are. That's the update at Lapham.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Are there any questions for Aggie?
Aggie, just going forward, are there gonna be any capacity problems?
No, we're not at capacity yet. Plus, with 2 staff, this is about all we can handle. You know, we really can't, we can add some hours in evening hours and add more things like the dinner and a show. We're doing 2 dinner and a shows. They come here for dinner and they go over to the show at the Powerhouse. And we've got a couple night meetings. We've got one on AI that's at 40, 50 capacity. We don't have big wait lists, 10, maybe 12, and usually people change their mind and we get to fit them in. But we don't have to worry about capacity. I think we're good. We're filling up, we're at the right amount, we're covering our costs for the classes, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Thank you.
Super, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Aggie?
How much you do? 2.5 staff.
Yeah.
We are very busy.
And always cheerful, I might add.
We try.
This room you said gets used a lot. What's?
Exercise. This is Pilates and chair fitness and muscles in motion and cardio plus and meditation and Tai Chi. So, and we have men's only yoga, Mondays and Wednesdays. And so that's what this room gets used for. Every Wednesday afternoon, some Wednesday afternoons, we use it for a bigger program. So we can fit 80 in here if we need a bigger capacity program.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for the terrific work you're doing for the town, and my wife is starting a Mahjong class and she loves it.
Everybody's doing it, guys.
Yeah. Well, I know you have a class to go to, but thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thank
Appreciate
you. Have fun.
Thank you.
That was the easy part.
Ed, you are next.
Sure. Hi, I'm Ed Libinati. I've been in front of some of you, been coming here for about 22 years now with the Summer Theater of New Canaan. And this year is the first time we're going back outdoors again for a special project. But we've been in the high school the last 3 years, which has been very successful. It's been working out well for us and for the community. But this fall, we're planning an event with the Land Trust and the Conservancy as associated, supporting this, to do an event at Bristow Bird Sanctuary. We are calling it the Bard at Bristow, an immersive stroll. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with immersive, is meaning you're involved with what's going on. You're part of what's happening in the event. So it's not like going to see Shakespeare. You are actually experiencing it and being part of it. The idea here is to have people come in, get to know Bristow. My wife and I walk it 5 days a week, so we're quite aware of it. We kept bumping into Chris Schiffer, who helped set it up, and Keith we see all the time, so we know it quite well. And we talked to him about a few projects to do something special, and this seemed to surface. It's something we can do. We have a very strong background in professional Shakespeare that we did here previously at Waveney, then at Irwin, and back here at Waveney again. And we're actually bringing back some of our stars, some of our international stars, actually from like 15 years ago, who British actors and Canadian actors, whatever, that we imported to do the show at that time. Anyway, it's basically, do you have one of these little sheets here?
Mhm.
Okay, this basically is just the highlights of what we're doing. And without going through it specifically, we're taking a group of people, all right, timed entries, which is maybe 10, 15 people, depending on what. Every 15 or 20 minutes, we're still waiting on it to see how many people want to do this. And they'll come up, they'll be sitting outside the gate there at the bleacher stands. And we have a Shakespearean MC warm-up guy, like, for the talk show host who warms up the audience. Well, we'll have one of these guys. He's a stand-up comedian from Vegas. He's going to be the ringmaster for the Big Apple Circus, and he happens to be my son-in-law. Okay, so we're getting him at a good anyway. And he'll warm everyone up, get everyone insulting everybody, having a great time with Shakespeare. And then we move them into the Bristow Sanctuary, where they'll come across multiple little events, Shakespearean scenes, sonnets being done, madrigal singing, whatever, every 5 or 6 minutes. On this, there's a map here with numbers, and basically those are the different places where things will happen. Without getting into, into the, weeds here, you can see we stay on the sort of almost the ADA compliant path where anyone can come through. The wheelchairs can go through, people with walkers can basically handle this. And we felt this was important to, make it available and accessible to everyone. And we'll walk through this pathway, and along the way, they'll, like I said, they'll come across these events and scenes. We'll have sword fights, we'll have witches from Macbeth with their big pauldron, whatever going on. It's gonna be quite an event. It should last about 45 to 50 minutes, the entire experience. And they'll keep rotating. So every 15 minutes or so, they'll come, a new group will come in, and we'll have like maybe 3 groups in the park at any given time. Not crisscrossing. That's what the schedule finally came across. It took us a while to figure that out. They'll all be costumed in fabulous costumes, and it'll be a great experience. But that's it. It's on a Sunday. We decided not to do it on a Saturday. Originally we thought there were less baseball games in there than there are. So we figured rather than have let's say compete for space and time and energy there, we said let's move it to Sunday. So we've moved it to Sunday. This is our first time doing it. If it works out, I'll be back here. We'll be talking about it a little bit wiser and a little bit more in advance. We'll have worked this out. But right now, we think we have a good shot at it. Sunday, we'll be rehearsing in the park parts of the day in the afternoon, Saturday afternoon. We'll have people going through it, working with the cast, a little bit on Friday. And that's pretty much it. Oh, the one big thing is we're asking that during the event that it be not necessarily closed to the public, but it's really just for the event at that point. And we would, the thought was to put up signs the week before saying, park will be, is for the event happening during that period of time. Here's information if you want to participate, that kind of thing. And this way, when we have groups going through these pathways, it's really hard for someone with dogs walking or anything else against that, especially when we get 2 or 3 groups in there. So for safety, basically, and experience, for the from the 11 to 4 o'clock, we plan to do it on Sunday. During that period of time, maybe an hour before that, we would prefer if we didn't have people going through it, and especially people with dogs. That's the only request we have there. Other than that, I feel we're pretty comfortable. John and I have walked through the space. He can give you some if you want on that. And
I'm not gonna be one of the actors.
well, we haven't given him his costume yet, but we'll see.
You might change his mind. Okay. I had a couple, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna ask about parking, because that seems to be a problem already at Need in terms of like full parking and stuff. Are we doing anything to help you with parking so that people can?
On Sunday, I don't think it'll be an issue.
Do
John?
you agree? I feel like with pickleball and.
There'll be
baseball.
there'll be people playing tennis and pickleball, et cetera, but I think the things might have to be moved down further, since there won't be many baseball games right down in that section. And he's rotating the people through, so it's not like you're having 200 people show up and be there the whole time.
Yeah.
So I think it would.
And that was one of the reasons also why we decided to move to Sunday this first time, to see how it goes, what kind of, what the traffic pattern is, et cetera. It's not good, it's very manageable because it's small groups and they do rotate. So you'll have maybe 20 cars, 30 cars at one point. So it'll take up a section.
Is it gonna be a family-friendly event, meaning can one take children?
Yes.
It's such a very good idea.
It is. It's family, multi-generational. However, we're gonna suggest children children from 5 up. Only because they're gonna be standing there and it's more challenging for that age.
Yeah.
Usually we would say, sure, anyone, but if someone brings a stroller, we're not gonna turn them away.
It's a good idea to introduce children.
Absolutely.
To experience the arts because it's dynamic and they move and they experience it, so, I just thought it was sort of.
Thank you. Yes.
interesting that
It's
it could
the
be-
multi-generational approach and family oriented is pretty much in our mission right now. I mean, that's how we present it. It's 3 generations, 4 generations of people coming to our shows, and we try and program accordingly.
I had two quick things. Do you have any rain date?
No rain date on this year. We
Does the
talked
rain or
about
shine event?
Rain or
So-
shine, and if it's too heavy, we cancel it.
Gotcha, okay, and then, as you know, subject to our approval, then it goes to Board of Selectmen for the private use of.
And we're
Okay.
scheduled for that.
Yep, okay, anything, I'm sorry.
No, it's a fun, and First of all, it's an outstanding idea.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
It really is. This is a corollary to Lindsay's question. If people can park, but they're in wheelchairs or using walkers, is this gonna be really difficult for them to get to the entrance?
The entrance is behind, the entrance is where the little cafe is in Mead Park. I don't know if you're familiar, if everyone's familiar, I'm sure you probably are. In that area, there's handicap parking, all right, so that shouldn't be an issue where people can be dropped off or whatever. And the access at that point, with wheelchairs or walkers, is very easy. You're on that special path like in Irwin that they put down.
Flexi
Okay,
pay.
yeah.
Oh,
And there's one little hill going up, but that's about it, getting into the park. Other than that, it's pretty, accessible. And again, we chose the path in the park that would be accessible for most people.
Okay. Thank you. Will you anticipate any parking on Old Stamford Road? The other-
No, we're not using that, and we're gonna tell people the entrance is at Mead Park.
Okay.
Use the Mead Park entrance, and that entry will be closed, so people can't come in there. I mean, we're not gonna lock the door, but it'll say closed for the event.
Right. Are there any other questions or comments? Can we move to a motion then? Motion to approve,
I'm,
motion second, Lindsay, thank you. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
David? Thank you. Opposed? Abstained? Good luck. I think it's a fantastic event and
I highly recommend if you have a chance to come. It's only gonna be 45 minutes. It's less than a mile of walking, it's 3/4 of a mile. And you're only walking maybe for 2 minutes or a minute and a half, and then you come across something. It's gonna be fun to
that is
do.
good. Well, thank you for what you're doing for the town. I know this has been a continued partnership for many years.
Sorry I have to leave, but I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Very much.
Thanks very much. Okay, now, welcome to the members of the Waveney Conservancy. Discuss about the Waveney Merritt Trail project, sorry. Howard, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you very much. Hi, everybody. My name is Fel Bird, I'm the chair of the Waveney Park Conservancy. I'm just to talk for a minute and then introduce our partner, Peter Betterio from Harry's Landscapes. So all of you got a packet that Peter's firm has put together. I imagine you probably haven't had a chance to review very much of it at this point. It's a little bit lengthy. There's a lot of great information in there. Just to give you a quick overview, the reason we're here today is because the Conservancy's been getting a fair amount of feedback, quite a bit of feedback from the community over the last couple of years about what can we do to help mitigate the sight and the sound impact to the park for the trail that goes right along the Merritt Parkway. Obviously, you can really see the parkway there. It's got a lot of, volume, and there's a big, there's a big exit sign there as well. So we went through a 2-year process working with Heritage Landscapes to come up with a schematic design, or redesign of that trail from Lapham Road over to South Avenue. That we think will really remediate a lot of the issues along that trail. We think it will really be transformational. And this is a schematic design we went through a couple different options, and one that the Waveney Park Conservancy Board has approved and wanted to present to you tonight to kind of socialize it with some of the relevant town departments and committees. Very quickly, we engaged with Heritage Landscapes. They've got extensive landscape architecture and preservation landscape architecture background. I'm sure Peter can talk more about it. They've had over 600 successful projects and won over 103 professional awards. And in 2019, I want to point out they won, Heritage Landscapes won the Landscape Architecture Firm Award from the ASLA. It's the highest honor for contributions to the profession based on an important body of work that's accomplished over several decades. And really importantly to us, Heritage Landscapes also has extensive knowledge and expertise in Olmsted Brothers designs. The Waveney Park was an Olmsted Brothers design. Obviously, we know now it's a different usage. It's no longer the private residence. It's a public park. But we do want to keep in mind, want to honor the design ethos of the Olmsted Brothers design where we can. So that we thought that was very valuable as well. If you go onto their website, you'll see they've got multiple awards listed. I did want to just mention two. One was Historic Mill Hill Landscape in 2025. That's right here with the Norwalk Historical Commission. And then they also have the Langry, so it's the one that's right. 2021, yeah. And they won the honor award for design and construction of Niagara Falls Riverway, Niagara Falls State Park, which is also known as their design. So some experience in some really significant large scale projects. So Again, our goal really is to see what we can do to remediate the site and sound issues in the park. The Heritage Landscapes conduct a deep review of the Olmsted Brothers design history in the park, pre-parkway, and then the changes made to the park after the parkway was put in place. And then Conservancy did a topographical map, a wetland survey, and a tree inventory survey to prepare for the plan. From there, Heritage came up with multiple ways, kind of called their toolkit on how they can try to remediate this. This came with extending the earthen berms that are already there, as well as stone layback walls, which is an Olmsted design aspect that's used in their designs, as well as a limited section of fencing that we envisioned would be included only because there's simply not enough room between the Merritt right of way and the wetlands that are within the park. So we just have a limited amount of space to work with, and we want to make sure we still have room for plantings to also shield some of the fencing. We're also using native species and plantings wherever possible for the pier.
Don, after we get to slide number 7. You might have to squeeze it a bit. A couple pages. I went through it. Keep going, keep going.
Sorry about that, John.
That's all right.
Slides.
He's not looking at the slide. He's got the paper in front of him. So anyway, current conditions in the trail. You might, if you can squeeze the view, it's a little bit better, but first. Okay, I'm gonna have to talk to it out of frame a little bit. But the issues we're happy to be working on a local project, as Bell mentioned, we work nationally. We worked on over 70 landscape designed by the Olmsted Brothers. Currently working on Hillside Cemetery up in Torrington, as well as other properties in DC which have had the Olmsted hand. So one of the things I want to say is that while we're targeted with working on this 2,800 foot long segment of the trail, we really think about the trail holistically. Everything we say about this trail, we know has implications for the remaining of the trails that circles the entirety of Waveney Park. It's also important for us to recognize that this is on the National Register. It's nominated both under criteria A, which is about a significant place and influences of that type of landscape, time was built, and C, which is done by the master artist, which is the Olmsted Brothers. So we do have to keep that in mind, and that's why we're really respectful of this landscape. And quite frankly, it's a very valuable landscape, and glad to have it, such close proximity to us. We also look at the, implications beyond what Phil was mentioned, but the targeted issue is to mitigate the sound. And we also think about how we enhance this trail, so it's increased value and how it makes more connectivity to not just the other pieces of the trail, but South Avenue, Lapin Road. So we think about it as a bigger picture and a larger charge than the simple issue of just mitigating sound. We're very concerned about what parts of the park of the trail have declined, which pieces are failing, looking a bit at the infrastructure and the materials. And we're always considering what's important about management and maintainability. Because I know Tiger's going to be on. So if we go to slide 2, just want to give you some context. This is a 1935 area. This is pre-Parkway. The Olmsted Brothers are already working with the Latman family. They designed the landscape. You don't see the high touch designs, which are the formal gardens, the vegetable gardens that drive the placement of the house. So the Olmsteds have full hand on this landscape, including the south border, which is I tend to call this too. And I think most of you are aware this was part of the Latman property, which is beyond the parkway, south of the parkway. And I don't think it's developed yet, but it was part of the ownership and was cut off. So in 1935, you can see that the parkway in white lines and the existing trail in yellow and orange. Just pointing out how open the landscape was. The wooded landscape piece you see that today is not there. You only see this piece of infill woodland here, which is, flanking Stony Brook. So this is the condition in 35 when the Latmans appeared and when the Olmsteds are working on the landscape. If we jump to 1951, next slide, sir, you can see the change. So the parkway is in place. The trail is shown in yellow. What's interesting here is you see the spatial organization of the landscape. It changed much of this bones it has with some significant changes. One being that Latman Road has been recirculated and it's been shifted south to the bridge above today. So that's a relocation. This is now the former Latman Road as part of the trail. Exit 14 now has also affected the way the circulation moves on that southeast corner of the park. And what's kind of interesting is that the Olmsteds hands are on this design. They're fully aware and they designed this piece of wooded edge. has now expanded further, but that is part of the landscape. What we don't see in their drawings is the trail. So it is the landscape which has been designed by the Olmsteds, not the trail. That's kind of important when we think about it, because as part of our charge of preservation is preserving and stewarding what we have. That's a value and creates the character of the landscape. So as we move forward, you're gonna see why we can make some recommendations and still stay within that historic footprint, if you will. If I go to the next slide, sir. So as landscape architects, we're charged with the analysis, understanding what we have to work with to begin with, on top of the history of the place. Understanding where the largest sound or where you perceive the sound to be the worst. That tends to be on the high areas. It tends to be where you're really even with the real base of the road of the Mara Parkway, and less so when you're below it and or you have some physical barrier between it. So that sound issues is important to us. The visibility, you don't necessarily want to see the passing cars. They're reflective, they're annoying. But if you don't see them, you don't hear them so much. So it's kind of a dovetail of not wanting to hear or see them. Those are one of the first things we look at analysis. Then we look at the typical things of the landscape, which include topography, the water courses, what's the condition of the vegetation, how much deadwood there is, how much is deadwood, which is habitat, how much deadwood makes the park look unkept. And again, are the culverts in good shape? Are they not working? Are the drainage system not working? So all this is sort of pulled in the same envelope. While our main charge is dealing with sound, we're looking at how to make, a landscape better and function better. Go to next slide, sir. So, homestead character, what are the extent or the remaining features of that landscape? We showed you that in the 1951 aerial. What we see up here is the Olmsted's design on board with the State of Connecticut Department of Transportation as to building these two earthen berms, which I think many of you are aware of. If not, you'll notice them when you go out there today. So they are part of the 35 design in tandem with the parkway. I happened to get a LiDAR image from the Connecticut State DOT, and you can see the two berms there very clear. So even before I walk the site, I know they exist. Now I know what I'm looking for when I go out there. And what I find is this extant berm. This is the one on the south side. As you come up from Latin Road, you just think you're in a hollow, but that hollow is constructed. And as you see it, it feathers up and it meets the topography where it sort of meets the crest. The whole of the property is sort of crest from the mansion down. That's why you have two wet spots, sort of drainage wet areas on the sort of perimeters of the landscape itself. I also included a planting plan from 1938. I think we include that because the Olmsteds don't always implement what they design. They've implemented this because it's hand annotated and making changes. The 35 plan, they're annotating, and they're still working here in 38, making changes to that. So these are the pieces of the landscape with respect to this trail that are, important values, give us a clue to the character that we can work with. If I go to the next one, sir. So, we did several studies for the Conservancy. We came up with 3 trail issues and 3 approaches. We sort of locked on this one. Conservancy is happy. I know that some people on Park and Rec were okay with it because we are able to look at how we can improve the experience of the parkway, address sound, and basically improve and upgrade the quality of the ecology in the system itself. So if I start from Latin Road, we're looking at how we approach the entrance, how we make the context work. Right now, it's slightly degraded. The parking is sort of haphazard, so even though it's a little bit beyond the envelope of our work, we're saying that long term, let's think about how to make that an inviting entrance to Waveney if town chooses that that's desirable. Secondly, we look at, and this is probably one of the larger moves, is shifting the trail inward. As I mentioned earlier, where the ground is highest and above the moving traffic is where you hear the sound waves. So given that the trail is not historically aligned, we have flexibility in moving that trail inward, and I'll talk a little bit more about it in the next slide, but that's probably the largest move you're seeing here to help abate the sound and get you away from the parkway itself. The berms here would be elevated, be enhanced, looking at using or sort of enhancing this wetland area, this little where the brook goes through. It's a different ecology. So let's make that look more like the ecology it is. It differs from the top of the woodland, which is sort of hardwood species, versus the wetland species. So you have 2 to 3 ecologies, and you have to have meadows that are off the project footprint, but you have the meadow here and you have the open fields. So now you're talking about three ecologies within the landscape. This trail goes through all of them at some point or another. Then we look at the constraints that are here, which are very narrow. And let's consider moving this connection that goes through two very tight trees. And let's bring it and look at if we can enhance and make more visible a part of the park experience, the drainage trail of the ice pond brook. So bringing it inwards, the issues is that it's wet in there, so we have to work with conservation to figure out how to get that to be, be constructible, if you will. But that's another large move and softening this. All of these alignments are based on Olmsted characteristic pathways. The Olmsted seldom if ever do straight pathways unless it's a formalized landscape in which they make that, that's about structural landscape. Otherwise, they typically do curvilinear walks, which allow you to see differences and changes in the landscape using vistas. So this one here allows you to actually come up the trail and look into the meadows away from the parkway. If you go to slide 2, sir, next one. Oh, good. There we go. So this is a little more hard line. So we actually looked at what is a real alignment, not just a hand study, how far in we can bring it. We're looking at bringing in 180 to 200 foot, but a 200-foot width of landscape is something we can sustain. It has an ecological footprint that is, is self-growing. We can do understory plantings beneath it. It's a little more self-sustaining and looks like a real place and helps to get everything away from the parkway itself. We can plant more heavily on the south border to help, mediate and mitigate the sound and the perception of the sound as well. So that's part of the issue. Elevating the berms, extending them and bringing them inward. So both berms would be built up and sort of tuck inward again, reinforcing the fact that you're moving your eye and your perception away from the parkway into the larger landscape. With the possibility of certainly winter views to the mansion on top of the hill, views across the meadow. So we're looking at what's the added value of changing the alignments. So your experience is not a linear run, but you really get to experience what is the whole of the Olmsted landscape. Again, to elevate and improve the quality of the landscape at the wet area, and again, to move you inward and bring your experience across the drainage channel for the ice pond. Just a couple of images. And, I mentioned earlier that, while this is outside of our purview of a project, it's something that can be undertaken at any time to improve that entrance. So there's another it's being used now for entrance to the park, probably from people like me from Norfolk. I got a next slide, sir. This is one of the modified earthen berms. As I mentioned earlier, we would work with this berm and the other berm to elevate them. This is the current condition. These are the Olmsted plantings, although I don't suggest that those are the Olmsted planted pines in them. I think that's been a regeneration. Pines tend to grow very quickly. They would be close to 80, 90 years old. I think that's probably regeneration. What we've lost on that berm is a lot of the understory planting in the variety. So the two characteristics here are the plantings and the earth structure, which we'd elevate. An image there, which you had, all this is in the master plan, which we handed out earlier. So we would elevate the berms, replant the berms, and make them higher and a little further to mitigate the sound, keep you away from the parkway. Change your attitude, change your experience entirely. Second slide, sir. Next. And a drum roll. Location number 2. What do we do at the low wetter area? Because this is a wetland area, we have to look at being very cautious about what we do for earth disturbance. So the linear fence, as Phil mentioned, it's about 300 plus feet. It's not so small, but it's not a small landscape. Would run along the property line, and in part it's being proposed because of the minimal impact on the land by just building footings for it. We also have to think about keeping the water draining underneath it, so it has to have that ability not to collect debris, etc. Materials to be selected, we're thinking wood, naturalized, planting with it. So it's not really a high touch finish. It's not the fence that's important. It's the fact that you're blocking the parkway and the sound mitigation. Wood is absorptive. So, we have some gains here, and we're thinking long-term, ease of replacement without much fuss. And of course, enhancing that area, benches and everything, that's already there today. But that's a quite little nice little ecosystem in there, which we'd like to promote through plantings and alignments. Slide number 3, location 3. And this is the lower location. looks at the section right on the entry exit where you're almost level and right there is the parkway. So in this case, because it's such a narrow width, we would like to have just done an earthen berm. But we're looking at using the language of the Olmsted character, built rusticated stone walls and build a system that has a one-sided stone wall, which would face the parkway, a little bit deceiving in the illustration. We just want to make sure you recognize it for stone as part of the system. And the inside would be a berm down. So I'm building berms that are about 36 inches high to deal with the wheelbase noise, which is, you know, from vehicle traffic, not truck traffic. We're not supposed to have trucks on the parkway. Out of that lot. But this is about the height we're looking, and to make it effective, we need to make one side lower. But that's why we're looking at this approach, which is Olmsted base and design characters. You can see how wide open and flat it is today. And then we do relocate the section as we come away from that. And we add more planting, so you're further away. And change the location at which you go through the existing stone wall, which was there during 38-35. I think that deals with much of my spiel. We do look at materials, like, we won't talk about much of them, but we're looking at, you know, the maintainability materials. I mean, the crushed gravel path that's out there today, it's easy to get. We could talk about porous pave as another part where it's more expensive, it's harder to maintain, and there's a lot of. So these paths would be 10 foot wide, they're kept wide enough for emergency and vehicle access. If someone needs to have an ambulance, or, you know, just maintenance vehicles going in. We're looking at changing the gradients where possible to alleviate erosion and scouring so that they can be more managed. We're looking at changing gradients where we can to make it more accessible without necessarily saying it's ADA accessible. We're going somewhat by the forestry guidelines, which say 8 to 12% is okay on trails, not necessarily. And this is not a means to egress. So where we can make it softer, more pleasant to use, we would. We also understand that there are people who use it for running and they like the challenge. So, I mean, we're trying to accommodate all the uses and still make it a very, you know, very pleasant experience. I think I might turn it back over to Phil to talk about some of the reality and, you know, how we get this done.
Yeah, so just to wrap up on a few comments here. Thanks, Peter. We envision that this is, right now, this is based on the schematic designs. So we don't have full pricing based on an ROM provided by Heritage Landscapes. $2.5–3 million may be a reasonable number, but again, I really won't be confirmed until we get into construction drawings. With that in mind, it's an expensive project. So we envision staging it in 4 different sections here. As you saw, this is the one where it's the most impactful. We're moving back from the parkway. We do that at stage 1, stage 2, where you have some fencing, if that were to be allowed, stage 3, the moving, and then stage 4 back over on Lapham Road. So again, this process for us is really to socialize it with the town and community members. If this gets the least blessing, we go into doing construction drawings this winter with Heritage Landscapes, get a better sense of what the costing is at that point, and then we would go back in for our process. We come back to the relevant town departments and committees next fall to go through the budgeting process with the hope that we may end up in the approval and breaking ground. I guess it's gonna be late spring, early summer of 2027. Right, yeah. Right, just keep thinking
So,
about
so,
that.
oh, correct me, no, we're not necessarily voting on anything tonight. We're just,
Correct.
we are, I guess, socializing it, understanding it. When you all are ready for a vote, just email me, we'll put you on the agenda. I don't think you have to go through anything like this again, as long as there's no major changes.
Okay,
Okay, you know, that would be the big thing, no major changes. And if you have a more accurate cost estimate, and then, as you know, this is a big project that has to go through us.
Yeah.
Or Selectmen, Board of Finance, Town Council, I mean, it goes out, but I think
we
that's
have,
not.
with our in charge of where to go next.
They got me on the road.
Yeah.
Are there any questions?
Yeah, so wonderful project and I love the level of detail. I'm gonna look at this closer when I get home. My question is, do you also have some time estimates as to how long it's gonna take to work on each stage of the project? And then is there some sort of alternate plan to help people, you know, sort of how they can use the park during this time where there's gonna be construction such that you know, you sort of create different pathways or like you just provide some sort of alternative ways for people to use such that, you know, the park can still be used in that construction phase, right? I mean, it's, I don't know how long it's gonna take, but
That's why I like stage one so much, because you can construct the trail with the other trail being open for probably a lot of that. And then you'll have a place for people to walk as you do the landscaping down there.
But phase one makes, is a great start. Keeping the trail open for the other phases will help we create.
And I think you touched also on cost. I didn't mention that. One of the reasons I think we also want to get in front of the committee now this year is to socialize it, but also to say that our idea for funding, because it's not going to be a cheap project, is we plan on using Waveney Park Conservancy's current reserves, fundraising that we've done. We go look at potential grants where possible. We also would undertake a capital campaign starting this winter or spring. And also we would look to ask the town to allow us to draw on the allocated funds that have been set aside in prior years.
One more.
Oh, that one.
Go back.
Yep.
I'm looking at Phil's hand chart.
Oh, yes, thank you. And yeah, I would encourage you, said the Heritage Landscape's did a lot of work for us. They really support a lot of options here, did an incredible amount of research. So if you have time, please, I encourage you to go through that. It's an impressive book on some history of the park and then the options we had. And also we had our 10th anniversary party this past weekend, which was a huge success. Thanks also to John Howe for getting that organized for us. And everybody, if you're interested, we have extra goodie bags if you want it at the end of this page. And please grab one because I don't know what to do with those otherwise.
They're really good goodie bags.
Yeah.
They're great. There's like a great winter hat and a cup. It was a great party and the goodie bag. Great.
We really appreciate, are there any other questions? I'm sorry. Yeah, I got it.
Actually, I have two. The first one should be pretty simple. What happens to the existing trails if this thing goes through? Do they just get demolished?
Segments that get relocated, they would be replanted, they'd be restored as a landscape.
So we wouldn't keep them in operation, they would be eliminated.
No, because the issue is getting, in primarily the main section is getting people away from the park. So the experience is integrated into the park. And the other realignments, which are on the west and south ends, are so close that there'd be no reason to keep them, in such proximity.
And my other question is, do we have any data that supports these changes? Like, do we have people, like how many people that use the park that think this is a smart thing to do? This is something that is worthy of moving forward? I'm just curious because I walk there all the time. I wear earbuds, doesn't bother me. But I'm not saying that other people don't. I'm just wondering if we have some sort of a collective idea that if somebody walks up to me and says, hey, why are we changing these trails? I can say, well, because 5 out of 7 people say this is a problem and we need to make a change because it's bothersome to dogs, it's bothersome to the people that are walking or whatever it is. I just think that, sometimes when we get asked questions, it's nice to have a little data set to at least rely on.
Well, that's a very good question. I don't have any data with me right now. I know I just started in the Conservancy as the chair this past spring, but I can go back and see how much feedback we did get on that. I've heard the same thing to your point. We have a donor who's an older gentleman who says, it doesn't bother me. I wear my hearing aids and I just put on music on my hearing aids. I don't pay attention to it. So there is that constituency out there without a doubt that it just doesn't bother them. But I do know, at least with my involvement with the Conservancy, we have had quite a number of people giving feedback that this is something they'd love to see addressed. So, but that's a very good question. You can look into that further.
Yeah, any ammo we can have, that supports this would be helpful, because I get questions all the time about that.
Yeah, defining the objectives.
Sure. No, good question.
Right. I think
Good point.
So for example, we put something on the table, which is an approach, which is achievable.
Right.
So now you have something to, weigh against.
Sure.
As opposed to say we're gonna do waving your arms, because then there are, then you hear, miscellaneous treatments that would not be appropriate. And so our charge is keeping all treatments appropriate within this historic common.
Right. Any other questions or comments? Well, thank you for your tremendous work here. I'm excited about this project. Congratulations on the event on Saturday night. It sounds like it was a lot of fun. And thank you for the goodie bags and really appreciate the hard work too. And again, stay in touch with me.
Will do.
As to when you guys feel the timing is appropriate, to come back for a vote.
Okay.
Okay, and whether it's this fall, next spring, it's up, but we'll leave the timing up to you.
Yeah, my sense will be next fall, once we get through construction drawings,
That's
full
fine.
costing, and get feedback from all the departments and committees that we need to make sure everybody's a sense of what we're trying to achieve, and hopefully they're on board.
Super, great.
Good.
Thank you for coming.
Yep, thank you, Jules.
Don't
Thank you,
worry,
everyone.
yeah,
I appreciate your time.
Ryan, playground.
Have a handout of the PowerPoints.
All right, if you have an extra one, you can tend to these gentlemen here. Okay. You guys can take a look if you want.
Thank you.
I don't think you hear about the playground, but.
It's very informative.
It's
What's going on? Good luck. Thank you for some of it, very.
Awesome. So, before I begin, I just want to, shout out the Friends of Waveney Playground Committee here. They're also a part of the Waveney Playground Committee, so we've been meeting, lately it's been, weekly. When we first started, it was weekly, then it became bi-weekly, and then they took over on the fundraising. So huge shout out. And then, of course, Lindsay, Tim, and Melanie as well. So thank you all for contributing. I think we have an awesome plan here, and I'm excited to share it all with you. So it's go time. And I know we've been talking about this for a while, but we're here today, and I'm going to request approval for the design, and I'll continue to go on with the next steps, which will be my last slide. So if John, you want to share the PowerPoint. So Waveney Park Playground. So the first slide, we're gonna touch base on the master plan, which was done by Keith Simpson. So this is the current master plan. You know, we may have some tweaks as the construction goes underway, but this is the design plan. So the fitness area is currently done. The walkway is done. And then now we're working on the playground project. So here you could see is a patio, an entrance patio, which there'll be 2 handicap parking spots right at the main entry there. And then this area here will be the designated playground area. It's a perfect rectangle. It helps us with pricing on the curbing, so which we'll get into on the next couple slides as well. And then you'll see here is a fenced in area. So in between that fenced in area, we will have grass and then tables, benches. And then along the perimeter, we're gonna integrate with adding some new plantings within the site. And that'll create a shield for the playground. So as people are entering Waveney, they'll still be able to see the house. So if you go on to the next slide. So now we'll focus more on the playground design, which is done by MRC, and then the equipment is through Game Time. So as you can see here, it's a big rendering of the entire site. And on the next couple slides, you'll see the equipment more in detail. So here you could see the main component. I know it's a struggle to see it, but it incorporates having slides, climbing objects, sensory objects along the railings and the walls as you enter the big element. And then there's some shaded areas, musical instruments, and the list goes on and on. So it creates a little bit of everything for inclusive. And the design range is for children between the ages of 5 and 12, but it also includes some elements that are for ages 2 to 5 as well. So we'll go to the next slide. So within this playground, we will have 4 base swings, and within the 4 base swings, we have 3 of the belt seats, which is your typical swing. So as you can see there, that left image. The next one, we have 1 tot seat for ages 2 to 5, and then we will have 2 0G seats, which are inclusive seats for those of whom who have mobility
struggles. So, one seat will be for ages 2 to 5, and then the other 0G seat will be for ages 5 to 12. Another feature that we will have is the Sky Run Zip Track, double 35 feet. So this is essentially a zip line with 2 different seating elements. So again, with the 0G seat, which is an inclusive seat, and then the other one is a round, circular shaped seat. So, but double zip track with that.
Best.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my favorite.
Next up, we have the Vista Sky Rope Tower, so similar to the one at Meat Park, a little smaller in scale, and just gives children the climbing element, so which is important. Next up, we have the Inclusive Whirl. So with this, it's handicap accessible, so someone on a wheelchair could roll right in, and it spins in a circle. So it's really for children of all ages. Next, we have the Kinetics Twirl, which is also an element over at Meat Park. I believe it's a little different since the years have gone on, but it has that similar feature. So you could stand up on this cylinder and hold on to the ropes, and it spins in a circle. So it's been a big hit at Meat Park, and I know that the committee was very on board with that one. So next up, we have the Roxall Seesaw, and with this, I actually, when the project first started, I reached out to Toms River, New Jersey. There was I want to say Field of Dreams, but it's can't think of the exact playground name right now, but I had asked him, I'm like, if you had one piece of equipment that you would love to incorporate or add more to your site, which would it be? And he recommended this. So his site is an all-inclusive playground, and he recommended this. So with this, we're gonna have a harness as well on it. So it's inclusive, and 4 seats, and then in the center is another seat as well. So. And then this is just an area set in the middle of the playground, and it's an area for children to kind of calm down, get some shade, and just rest for a little bit. So it's essentially a seat with some shade, and that's really the gist of that.
Time out corner.
Exactly. The kids can put their heads down and relax for a little bit. And then the last element that we have is music instruments, so harmonic chimes, which is 7 instruments there. So as you can see, there's small drums here, 4 of them, and they're hooked up to cables, heavy duty cables, so they're not prone to break or anything. And it's important to have that musical instrument within the site, because it gives children an area to step away and just enjoy themselves. So. And then one other element is the custom frame. So this is a fiberglass sign that, similar to Meat Park, this will be where the donors' names will be. So this sign is not made yet. So, but it's going to be something similar to Meat Park, where it'll be Friends of Waveney Playground, and it's 2-sided. So this is currently in our current quote. So we will order it and then just come up with a design. If you're okay with approving it, it will be very similar to this. If you really need me to come back, I would be happy to do
We'll
so.
come back with the exact wording.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah,
but if you could include it,
In the proposal.
yes, sure.
yes.
Right,
Mhm.
it's gonna be blue, the frame.
No, so we're going to stick with the beige, brown, green.
And even on the individual pictures you saw,
Yeah.
there's not gonna be a yellow in those bright colors.
Right, so what you see on the renderings there for the equipment is exact. So that goes with the port and place surfacing as well. It's gonna be the tan color, which we have at the current fitness area. So we've gotten some positive feedback, and it gels in really well with the site. And then the last thing that's not complete just yet is the custom communication sign, which we will put at the main entryway. So I'll call it the patio area as you enter the playground. So this gives children an area to, whether it's if they want food, it gives them an area to point, and just I'm sure that you know, Lauren and Monica and Hillary could speak on this behalf, but it's just, you know, it's a really good element. They're incorporating it at all the schools right now. So it's at West School. This is an example from West, and I know it's at East, South, and Saks. So I know it's very important to have, and you know, I think it's a great element to have. So.
Is that a parent saying, listen, pointing to something, or a child, is it?
There is a bit of that, Ryan. Do you mind if I?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah, please.
So the board is, the way that the board is formed, is in almost like sentence structure. So
Okay,
you have like an individual, right? And then an action verb, and then an object, and this is done by speech and language pathologists. And so these boards, we just put them into all the elementary schools and the middle school. And these are for nonverbal, kids and adults. And it's a great way to make an inclusive space. It also allows kids with different abilities to get together and play. And I've seen it in action. So kids who might be nonverbal or might have a hard time speaking. I have a daughter who struggles with language. She's autistic, and she might bring her sisters over and say, you know, that boy is running to, and this would be playground materials to the slide. And you might say, like, she would want to do that. Or here's one that my daughter would use, play alone. She might be trying to tell you, I need time, I need a little space. So it's just a way to equalize, or, you know, the opportunities at the playground and make it a really inclusive space. So
Well said.
that's
thank you.
my feel.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you want to touch base as well on the QR code, I know that was going to be added to the custom
Yeah.
sign too. So with the QR code, I believe you
It'll
could scan
ask
it
for
and it's
instruction.
okay.
Yeah, it helps people learn how to properly use the board. And we will have the QR code on every sign. It's part of the design. It's standard. We had a terrific meeting with Smarty Boards, which is you know, a vendor of these types of communication boards. The good news is, not only are they local, but a New Canaan mom represents them. So we sat at the library with, she's someone I know from the middle school. We've worked together on a variety of volunteer projects, and she's a vendor for Smarty Boards. So she took us through this. We had another speech and language pathologist come and sit in on the meeting, a woman by the name of Lauren Tarzia. She's also a mom here in town, and they led us through this process and talked to us about how not only will the board be there, we'll be able to learn how to use it. So it won't be like a piece of equipment that you look at and say, how do I do that? But a parent, a grandparent, a caregiver could take their phone, scan the QR code, get a quick tutorial, and then be able to really use the board and even teach kids how to use the board.
And there's also an intention, sorry to
Yes,
jump
please.
in, there's also an intention to have the same symbols in the same order, so the exact same board, but for visually impaired kids that might use it, which is a different, it's more black and white with a couple of neon pops. And so then children, we have several of them in our schools that are visually impaired, will have a way to look and communicate as well. So we're really trying to hit all the kids with the greatest needs. But the great thing is the playground is so great, and the design is terrific. All kids are gonna love it. Every kid here. But we wanted to make sure that we met people with the most sort of special needs as possible when we were designing,
Sure.
and coming up with this.
The QR code too will be great for people who don't, like, the idea is if maybe you don't have a child who's non-speaking and they happen upon another child who is non-speaking in the play space, then the idea is, well, mom, I want to play with this kid, but I don't know what they're trying to tell me. And so the kid could just, you know, sensibly grab someone's hand, walk them over to the sign and communicate that way. And the idea too, with, like, as Ryan said, they're in all of the schools. So kids, we think, at least in our community, will already have familiarity with these signs. The idea is hopefully they've already seen them, they know what their purpose is. And, you know, if they don't, then there will be the QR code there for mom or whoever trusted adult they're with to click on it and to say, oh, this is how we use it, and this is what so-and-so is trying to tell us.
Yeah, and, you know, quick with that, between kids, my 5-year-old was at Saks, and, he went right to the board and he was sort of pointing and we're figuring out how it works, and he was sort of so excited. So, you know, amongst kids, the fact that they can refer each other to the board and learn how to use it, it's a wonderful idea. You know, not just always have to rely on a parent, but sort of enhance that playtime amongst themselves.
It's
too.
nice to submerge even the neurotypical kids in these kinds of devices because it's like no big thing, right? And the idea for neurodivergent kids is for them to play alongside neurotypical kids in the way that the unspoken language that kids use, right? And so it's just it removes the otherness of it, I think. And that's the idea. And this is sort of like the future. I think playgrounds, if they have the resources like we do, I think that they're gonna start incorporating this more and more often.
Right?
So the next few slides are some renderings. So just as I mentioned, the color scheme is exact here. So what you see is what we're gonna get. So John, you could continue going forward. As you can see along the railings and the walls here, there's some play structures involved, music chimes, some tic-tac-toe and learning, so ABCs and stuff along those lines. So every piece of this entire element is going to be a feature within the playground itself and something that kids could use. So the last slide I have is the next step. So as far as the funding goes, we will obtain the funding from the Friends of Waveney Playground, obtain the STEEP grant. And then as far as presentations and approvals, we're here tonight to get the approval from the Park and Rec Commission. The next step would be the Board of Selectmen, which we're going to get approval for the contract. And then the final presentation would be for the Town Council, and that would be contingent upon the Board of Selectmen's approval. So, and then as far as the equipment goes, we would order the equipment after all the approvals. It would be stored at our Waveney barn area over winter, and then in spring of 2026, that's when we'll undergo the construction, so.
Fantastic.
The Board of Selectmen will have to give an approval contingent on the town council's approval.
Right. And where our approval is contingent on you board.
Yes. But we're hoping if you approve it, and then we can
Oh, okay,
write a
yeah,
demo
yeah.
at last night's Park and Rec Commission meeting.
Got you. Are there any questions for Ryan? Good.
You mentioned musical elements. I think that's a wonderful addition. Just from a sound standpoint, is that a concern to outside of the playground area? And then two is of the people in there, does it get, maybe a little disturbing to others if that's going all the time? I'm just curious.
I don't think so. I mean, you all have daughters or sons. I think that you may have a better read on this, but within that whole site too, there's gonna be trees, plantings all within the surrounds of the area. So I think that will just bind the noise. But if you have anything else to touch base on with that, then.
It's not incredibly loud. I think that it's a really good point too about sensory dysregulation and things like that. I think the idea of us putting it in a certain spot within the footprint sort of took that into mind. And the other thing, that we tend to forget also is that playgrounds are just inherently loud. They're inherently louder spaces, and that's kind of why we have that sensory. Did you see that sensory seat? We called it sort of the timeout chair, but the truth is that is a place that, for a kid who's maybe dysregulated sensory wise, to sit in a spot, be covered, and then just sort of, decompress. The other thing about the musical elements is that it's really important that we have things within the space that are meant for children who are in mobility devices. And so in order to allow them to engage in a certain way, for some kids, sound, especially chimes, are very soothing. For other kids, they may not be, but also for other kids, like mine, sometimes kids being too, we may have to go into that sensory corner, right? Because things are a little bit too loud. Sometimes the sun will go like this kind of thing. I think, again, the idea is to try and capture as many needs as we possibly can. And there are definitely children out there, number one, with the mobility device who want to participate. And number two, who find musical sounds such as chimes soothing. So, it's not going to be for everyone, but we think that of what we've selected here, that we have tried to sort of hit upon every single demographic that was identified to us in our meetings with community members.
Right, this all looks great. I mean, so much work is going into this, and we've been seeing it, progress along. I just have a quick question about the fencing. What is that gonna look like and like how high is it gonna be? And is there only one in and out? That type of. like,
Right.
stuff.
So the final design is not complete yet with the fencing. So, but our train of thought right now is something similar to the dog park. So, wooden fencing with, sort of the black chain link fencing
Green
on that
mesh.
side of it. Yeah. the
Green or
mesh.
black mesh fencing
Mhm.
attached to the split rail.
Mhm.
You don't even see it most of the time, similar to the playgrounds down the.
Correct.
And it'd be just one entrance and exit?
No, not likely, but
Well, there'll be one entrance, most likely one entrance and exit for the users, but we'll need access, so there'll be
Right.
some double gates to get in, but
Correct.
they won't be open regularly.
Mhm.
Just so that nobody has to worry about their kids running out into the park.
Yeah.
That type of thing.
similar, really similar to the dog park in that sense, where we have locks on the other gates so that we could have access to it, whether it's blowing leaves or just going in there mowing the site. So, but having that one entryway, and that's what the main purpose of having that patio area is, and to have those entryway signs. So, but great question.
And the other thing is having that one entry by the parking lot, hopefully will dissuade a lot of kids from using the adult fitness equipment,
Mhm.
which is one of the reasons we want to have this playground anyway, because even the new adult fitness equipment isn't necessarily safe for children to play on. So if we can guide them into one area and they can't run through and go over to where the adult fitness equipment is, that's a success in my opinion.
And the parking lot too.
Yeah.
The parking lot was another consideration for those of us with softball kids.
Mhm.
You know, my kids would just disappear, my guy would get eloped quite often, and then all of a sudden I see him on the equipment, and I'm like. I meet with the Parks and Rec Commission all the time, like, can Monica's kid not be on adult fitness equipment? But it's true, the kids just sort of don't really pay attention, and they run across that parking lot space, and cars come from that side entrance, it's dicey. So the idea that if you have that one entrance, then the kids are forced to come around and use a much safer route.
Good point.
Right, Ron, you mentioned benches before, and tables. Are there going to be benches around the perimeter for parents and grandparents and whomever to sit, watch the kids close up?
Yes, absolutely. So the benches that we plan to incorporate would be similar to Mead Park, so with the tables, handicap benches, and then the benches that are donated throughout Waveney Park. So the brown bench, the wooden benches, those would also be incorporated.
We can get you
within
the
our program.
paperwork if you'd like.
Yes, if you'd like to donate. Maybe $3,000 or something.
Thank you, go ahead.
So first of all, thank you so much and congratulations. This is a tremendous amount of work and I'm privileged to work your efforts and humbled to see the thoughtfulness into each piece of equipment because I can really see each sensory need being addressed and how that input is gonna affect the kids. So this is an amazing, I mean, this equipment I didn't know existed. I'm like, again, I said, how can I didn't know about this? So I'm so grateful that we're gonna have that in Canaan for our kids. I'm also incredibly grateful that we can have a fence. I know that I've been asking you for some time, and I know you were really a huge effort. And I think it's gonna be, an excellent addition to the project. The last question I have, because I'm the mother of 3 boys, and I always have to have 100 eyes. You mentioned the shape of the space being rectangular. There's some cost effectiveness in that. And I saw the same with the adult equipment. I see those sharp corners and kind of, that's one of the things that I will be like mindful while watching my kids. Have you guys thought about maybe finding or softening those edges to just in case, just avoid stripping or anything like that?
That's why they are beyond any fall zones. So that's why we put it there. The thing that we like about using the granite curb is if you have the same level as the soil, you have problems with the mowers and the rubber surface, which is very expensive. And it's permanent. By that being in 25 years, if there's a desire to replace the equipment, you still have the outline there. So that's why we want to go with the granite curb. The plastic that they use looks great the day it's put in, and then it immediately starts going downhill.
I think it looks great. I don't have concerns with the material. It's more like
A rubber
the
surface.
corners, it's like, just sort of, just wondering, but I mean, when I saw this, I didn't know there was a fence. So I guess what you're saying is, there's gonna be like enough space between the whole area,
Oh, yeah.
the grass area, the fence, it's not like it's gonna be a tight place to just go around.
We want to have benches and tables inside.
You're
so
gonna
that
have like
people-
enough space so that it's not something that is,
Right.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, great.
Thank you. Is there any other questions? Then I would like to move to a vote. Is there a motion to approve the playground? Gene, thank you. Second, Tim, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Dave.
It was very well done. Excellent presentation.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. Any opposed, abstentions? So carried, guys. Excellent work. I know this is, yeah.
Thank you.
You've gone on for about 4 years. For a long time. Okay, well done.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brian.
Thank you,
Thank
Brian
you.
and John. Thank you. I didn't think I'm easy to work with, but I think that's in my own mind, Brian and John. It's been wonderful. We've been meeting for 2 years now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Susan,
Yes,
update on the Waveney House. Thank you.
okay, I will be quick, it's, my FB says my typical one-page go through bullet points. Thank you to, Bea and John who met with me to bring me up to date on this. So we have a couple of things just to bring up to date on Waveney House, the building exterior, due to the water damage, the brick work is all being repointed at the moment by the town. And the project began in mid-July and it's expected to be completed in November. Expected to be completed in November. Everything is always that way. In the interior, the new bathrooms up on the second floor are complete. They're lovely. The brides and grooms room will be completed this month. And there will be an unveiling, I am told, when the time comes. The elevator, Waveney House, will be closed from mid-December through March for the construction and the installation of the elevator. As a result, there will be no projects, including no events, including weddings, during that period from early January to early April. The Parks and Rec Department, however, will be in-house and open during that time, for a number of reasons. There's a lot of reasons why it's good to have somebody on site. But also, they will be there, so we can still access Parks and Rec. But there will be no events, which will also affect the budget. Last year, the house was closed because we expected, or we didn't schedule any events, because we expected that period of time to be the time when the elevator was installed. Unfortunately, due to some equipment delays and some things that happened, that didn't happen last year, so we're onto it this year. However, the wedding season was a really busy season, and with the exception of that time last January and early in the year, they were a very busy wedding season. There were 36 weddings, 12 special events such as the holiday parties, the breakfast with Santa, Lobster Fest this year, and next year is going to be at Waveney House. There's reunion and of course the post-prom. There were miscellaneous fundraisers. The biggest one, of course, is the Conservancy, who had their gala last week, which was, I think, very successful and well done. And the summer concert series, again, was very successful, very well attended. There were only 2 concerts that were delayed and none were canceled this year, so that was terrific. And then I know we handed out my little page, so I won't go through all of, and these are not all of the groups that use Waveney House on a regular basis. These are the ones that we're familiar with, just to give you an idea of how much actually goes on at the house. So if there's any questions, I'll ask John B. Danzo. No.
Any questions for Susan or John?
Great.
Well, thank you for an excellent report. Appreciate it. This is obviously a big moneymaker for the town. It's one of our.
One quick thing, they do have a very nice brochure that they hand out to
Oh.
brides, and, I can pass this one around, I did not ask you to get this one, but I'll have this
Great,
available,
great,
if you
thank
like to look at it, we'll start it down here. And in it are the fees for this year, which are the same as the draft that was proposed to us, 2 months ago, I
Right,
guess.
we got that.
So there's no change in that, but they are in the brochure.
Terrific. Super. Any other questions for Susan? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
John?
Okay, so I'm gonna start off with the bad news first. So the paddle courts were up and running. We do still have some repairs to do. We were fortunate to have the court work done by the company back in June, but we still have some stairway repairs, and some netting repairs and that type of stuff. Tennis courts. Probably the worst year, as far as I'm concerned, we had with conditions. Barring the years where we didn't open until June, but we ran into a few problems. With the new irrigation system that went into Mead Park, it delayed the summer service of the courts. And with that irrigation system, when they put it in, then the irrigation system, the pump controls went down. This caused us a lot of headaches, conditions that weren't great. We're not very happy with that. With that said, the pump is back up and running. They're clay courts, so they need to be watered every single night. And so when we lose the pump, we can't roll them, we can't do any work to them because they get hard and crappy, et cetera. And it just kind of went downhill. We also have determined that we want to replace a lot of the tapes that are nailed down in the spring, because as they get older, they start curling and they can be a tripping hazard, et cetera. With that, we feel like we're in a good place for the fall. There was a rumor going around, the racket club said that they were not gonna let their people play there this fall because the conditions of the courts weren't safe. The racket club isn't having people play there this fall anyways. We made an arrangement with the racket club for some summertime when we were slower, making courts available for them to use for their pros so they could be outside. And then with that, this winter, we're gonna be able to have pickleball inside at the racket club, part of the rec programs. So, but there was no racket club coming to the courts in the fall. So that's the good news. I mean, that's the bad news. Now we'll go on to the good news. So, as far as the pickleball courts, we've been working with Keith Simpson. He showed us preliminary plans, which we're not ready to publicize yet, of pickleball courts over at the paddle court area.
Right.
What we're looking at now is there's ability to design 6 courts over there. 2 of them would take up some parking lot space. And so as we originally planned on, we were looking at putting in 4 courts. So that's what we try to start with, but we'll have design plans where we'd be able to add 2 more, hopefully, final plans aren't done yet, so. With that, the pool in Kiwanis, the pool never was closed for a full day this year, which is always.
You mean the Benko pool, not.
Yeah, Steve Benko pool, I'm sorry. So with that said, we had about 37,000 people go through the pool this summer in a very short period of time. So even though August ended up being cold and we didn't have big numbers then, it was a great season that way. Kiwanis, we never had to close for our water tests. Partially because we had the rain in the spring, and then once it got dry, it stayed dry. So runoff causes the problems with the water down at Kiwanis. So with that, we had 919 visits to Kiwanis just through the main swimming area. We're estimating around 5,000 total visits for the summer, including the Y camp. The library did some events there, that type of, so. In Ryan's case, he's been airifying, overseeing all the athletic fields. He's almost fully staffed. Hopefully, we're gonna hire the last guy on Tuesday. We'll get approval from the Board of Selectmen. We have new irrigation at Saks, Connor. They're one system together, even though they're separate places, and Mead Park. So with that, we're in a good place.
Right.
So,
Right.
And then I have one little video to show. Wait a sec.
John,
Yeah.
are you still contracting with Greg's Garden Center? I
Not
know
right
it
now.
was our team, your team that did like the high school and stuff. It looked good. I just was. Is
Uh,
there plans to
there-
like use a contractor still in terms
Yes.
of just like the size of our town?
There is, we're in the process of going out to bid for that work. It becomes a substantial amount of money, so we need to go out to bid. So that's why we haven't been doing anything. Let's see. Hoping this will work. It's a very short video if it plays. And
2 years ago, we revamped our summer camp. We wanted more fun. We wanted more activities for the kids. We added special events. We added field trips. We added 2 Gaga pits, 9 Square, and a bunch of other things as well to help make this camp successful.
Hi, I'm Leslie Yates. I'm one of the directors here at Waveney Camp. What better way to beat the heat on hot summer days? Coming here to the Steam Fanco pool. All campers have access to this pool Monday through Friday.
We have developed a model of the perfect mix of supervised and free play activities for your child.
My favorite thing to do at camp here is I like doing the Gaga, and my favorite is probably art.
Don't miss out and sign up next year and join the fun here at Waveney Camp for your 2026 summer camp season.
With a playground.
Right? Yeah. That's useful, Alex. Sure.
I'd like to, if it's appropriate, to make a few comments on the topic of the Mead Park tennis courts, if I might, but I'll wait our turn.
Just, you have 2 seconds.
Sure.
Then just to follow the, protocol.
Absolutely.
I'm good.
Okay.
questions.
Any questions?
I just have one more question. It was about the Gaga pit.
Yep.
Cause I know those are so popular and we've just been talking about the playground. Like, are those just temporary and then we take them down or does that?
We do, we do take them down for the off season. It's one of those things that they don't get used much when it's just kids going
play?
around.
Okay,
So, and Ryan oversees the area. We tried, it's completely worn out before.
right,
Right. Yeah. Gotcha.
yeah.
Any other questions for John? All right, we'll go to my report, which will be extremely brief. Just 2 quick things. Our next meeting is going to be on October 8th, Wednesday, October 8th. With the town's 250, well, the Constitution's 250th anniversary coming up this year. It's gonna be a packed season, so we really appreciate everyone's continued efforts, and there'll be several things that'll be coming at us over the course of the year. So really appreciate everyone's diligence on this particular matter, and that's it. So open up to the floor.
Can I-
Jim, I'm sorry.
Before we move to the public's comments, one thing that I wanted to mention or ask briefly. So when we think about pricing, we always have family memberships, we have seniors. And I was curious because I was just looking at an organization who, tries to make communities more veteran friendly. And I was wondering if we ever consider having some sort of veteran category in our pricing structure. Sometimes veterans are seniors too, but sometimes veterans could be younger folks. And I was just thinking about our community and how friendly we are towards veterans and appreciative, and especially the anniversary now that I mentioned 250th. It could be something that just putting out there, we could think about to, again, just be a veteran friendly community all across.
Veteran rights, yeah.
Yeah, we definitely can look at it. I personally have never been asked, but you know, that doesn't mean we should look at it, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
they
makes
they're
sense.
not seniors, sometimes they call them people.
Right.
As we go into fall, you know, we look at all our costs for programs, et cetera, memberships and everything. So yeah, we'll look at that.
We can do that, yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely category. Right.
We don't get requests, people don't call and ask, which is interesting, they might call the, youth services department or such for families, but, certainly, we do get questions from veterans with regard to pricing for weddings. But,
Yeah, I was gonna say, the same would apply, I mean, if it's something that, you think it's appropriate, but I just thought it was something that, I see us as a community, of being appreciative of
Right. Okay.
of those who, serving, rather service to our nation and just,
Okay.
put it out there.
Sure. It's good. Good. Okay, thank you. Thank you. So now we open public, gentlemen, welcome. Thank you for your patience and
Thanks.
please state your name. If you
So,
could.
sure, my name's Kurt Carr. We've been a resident in New Canaan, Connecticut since 2004. And I'm here to assert that, the tennis community at Mead Park is a healthy one. And, first and foremost, to express appreciation to John and to Steve Dayton and to Zach for all they do for our club and for the Mead Park Tennis Courts. And
All right.
Thank you. For Zach and Steve as well. So we run a men's tennis club out of Mead Park. And we've been in existence for 6 years. And pre-COVID, a flare was shot up by, I believe it was Steve Benko at the time, that someone needs to do something about the Mead Park tennis courts. And so I called the Parks and Rec department. I said, well, if I start a men's tennis team, will you give me the courts? And they said, yes, we would do that. So we started a men's tennis team, built the team. COVID was gasoline on the fire. We just completed our 6th season as a club. And we've grown it from 1 men's tennis team to 3. We have 2 teams in the open division of the Fairfield County Tennis League, which is predominantly a private club tennis league comprised of 60 private clubs, 4 of which are public clubs. One of the public clubs is the Colonnade Tennis Club in New Canaan, us. There's a club at Longshore and Westport. There's a club at Oak Hills. And there's a club at Bailey Beach. So those are the other 3. And our program is the deepest and biggest and competes at the highest level in terms of our breadth compared to the other public clubs in Fairfield County. And to give you an idea, we request 4 courts on our match nights. And over the past 6 years, we've completed over 500 matches representing 1,000 roster spots for New Canaan residents and delivered 306 doubles match wins for the town over private clubs in the area such as Weburn, Woodway, and Country Club of Darien, and going as far east as the Patterson Club, and as far west as the Belhaven Club. I would agree with John that hard true tennis courts are finicky courts to maintain. And, the one thing I've drawn from this meeting is how blessed we are as a community to have such deep resources to pursue ambitious projects in Waveney Park in terms of landscaping and playgrounds. And, I'm just here to assert that, the demand for the Mead Park tennis courts is strong. We compete at a very high level. Our Court 1 players are former Division I athletes who have been, all conference and their Division I tennis teams. It's comprised mostly of New Canaan residents. We do have some non-residents that avail themselves of the non-resident pass offering. And as soon as that pass becomes available for purchase on our team app, we are driving pass purchases because we know that's important for you to be able to allocate funds. But aside from that metric, I wanted to enter in the record, these statistics. We haven't been here previous to present them because generally we're on the courts playing tennis.
Right.
But I wanted to mention that, and I have my captains behind me.
Great.
Who help me run the club, who, you know, I welcome their comments as well.
I think my question is, we'd like to get involved with helping make the courts in better condition. If it's a question of money or you need helping hands now and then, we're willing to do it, because we all been members of private clubs before. And hands on deck is the best way to make something flourish. So we just wanna have some, you know, input from you, and you can get our feedback, and we like to make those courts. It's not hard, once you have the courts in good condition, to maintain them. Does cost a little bit of money, and so if it's a question of raising fees for those courts, I don't know if you'd be opposed to it.
One of the things we have money in the capital budget to rebuild 4 of the courts. Part of that will help. They're good as far as playing, but they're not perfect. You know, you want to have proper grades out there, and all of that helps. You need to have the clay moist, not just the surface. It needs to be going all the way through. So, yeah, we don't need to get into all the details. Rebuilding the courts would help us maintain them too. So they are finicky. I'm gonna completely agree. You know, takes one day, one night without water, and the next day you go and look at them and they're powdery, and once the clay loses its ability to bind, it becomes dead.
Right, sure.
It's tough. So
The other thing that makes it difficult, there's a lot of tree limbs overhanging the courts. So that puts a lot of debris on, it makes it harder to maintain and keep clean. So if there's an ability to do some tree trimming, that would help tremendously.
Absolutely.
I'd like to second that, because it's very unusual for tennis court to have tree limbs that actually come into play. That does happen here, but sometimes a lob can hit some of these tree limbs.
Do you play on the upper forecourt? Is that where all your matches are, in the upper courts? Or do you play?
Originally, when we started, the first couple years, our courts that we were allocated on Wednesday evenings were court 5 and 6, which are below near the stack bar, and court 1 and 2. And that was very nice because there's a significant amount of camaraderie after the matches. And when we're hosting, we're bringing a clientele to New Canaan that are private club members from other towns and are used to a certain level of court maintenance. And when they see the colonnade there and they're able to socialize afterwards and have the camaraderie, that was a really big plus to, I'd say, the formation of our club.
Sure.
And over the past couple of years, we've been moved up to courts 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we're not experiencing that same bonding experience, you know, for men's health.
I think we might have done that,
Yeah.
thinking we were doing you a favor
Yeah,
by
yeah.
having you all together.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's appreciated, yes. So we would like to go back down and, you know, Dan, who's the pro there, I think, does a good job now that he's, you know, worked out an arrangement to be able to use the roller, which we didn't previously have. The upper courts aren't bowled as much because Dan's not up there. So what you really need is someone on site, either that's Dan or like Dan, somebody, I know people are employed by the town who are in the hut, but someone on site who knows how to identify problems with hard true courts and is empowered to fix them, whether that's rolling, whether that's calcification, whether that's taking out a hammer and banging a tape back into the surface, whether that's reattaching the net cord, whether that's adjusting the tension of the net cord. The poles on the sides of each cord are, you know, past due being replaced in my view. Whether that's escalating bigger problems, such as, hey, these pine cones from this tree are creating damage on the court. That needs to be trimmed. You know, there's a massive tree in between 5, 6, and 7, and 8, where after, you know, we'll get these storms where it's, you know, it's a burst and it blows all kinds of debris out of the court. Poor Dan's out there an hour before, you know, picking up twigs bit by bit. You know, those trees, you know, would really, you know, behoove the asset to trim those trees properly. And it is an asset, you know, it's the only stretch of 8 hard true courts in Fairfield County that I know of that are within walking distance to a train station.
Yep, absolutely.
So, yeah.
I certainly appreciate your offer to extend some financial support.
Yeah.
As you know, the town is very heavily engaged, as you saw, with the conservancy and the playground.
Yeah.
With public-private, efforts, and I think my suggestion, if you guys identify a project, or we identify a project, and it costs $5,000, okay?
Yep.
It may not be in our budget, but we can talk and figure out something, you know what I mean?
Yes.
New tapes, X grand, new nets, X whatever, you know.
Right.
Let us know what it is, we'll fundraise.
Partnership, we'll do something.
Yeah.
That would definitely help.
Yeah.
Yep,
Are you guys a 501(c)(3)?
we are not, we are an unincorporated association of individual pass holding tennis.
Okay. That's great, and we'll certainly, as we see projects, or John see projects, you guys see projects, and, you know, we get some, estimates of what it might cost, we could potentially, you know, work something out.
Okay.
Have you considered raising the fees for membership?
The. We always look at our fees. But maintenance comes out of the Parks Department budget,
Right.
and the money that comes in from fees doesn't go into that budget. But with that said, we can definitely look at that.
It's a,
Yeah.
absolute bargain.
We've had considerable conversations about fees, whether it's paddle, tennis, pool, that we don't wanna get a level where we look like a country club, because this is a tax supported.
Right.
Group. So we're very sensitive about raising fees. Sometimes they're needed, yeah, obviously. We've had to raise fees in the last couple of years to offset the inflation. But I think we can certainly take a look at it, but I think it would be very modest, whatever we do.
Right.
Yeah.
I think from the player perspective, the first priority from my perspective would be the tapes. Because it's actually dangerous. I've been playing matches where guys have tripped over the tape. And that's not something that typically happens on a horseshoe court. There, for whatever reason, I don't understand the physics of it, but these nails come out much more easily than any other court I've ever been on.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because they're dry or something, but there sometimes are sharp nails facing up, and it's just not.
But the
great.
reason for that is because they're not watered daily. And
Right.
like you mentioned earlier, if you don't maintain that on a daily basis, it becomes powder, and then those snails just lift up, so you have to water every single day. I grew up in New Canaan as a kid in the late 80s, 90s. I played on these courts growing up. Every single night, there was a high school attendant rushing the courts and then turning on the sprinklers in the middle and the outside to water every single court.
We're lucky enough that we do have automatic sprinklers, and they just replaced them all.
But they used to
So
do
also
that, they used to do that manually though,
Yeah.
on a daily basis at night.
27 years ago, they did it manually when I started.
I'll share, you know, for the past number of years surrounding our matches before and after. We'll pay a college kid that lives in town, that's home, you know. $80 to come before our matches and sweep the courts and then afterwards, and. You know, our original guy we did that with got hired by the country club to take care of that courts. You know, I had to go and find another guy.
We need.
Okay. Well, we really appreciate your comment. Are there any other questions or comments?
So we'd like to extend, you know, our help. And, you know, I don't know if we'll reach out to John.
Yes.
Right?
Sure, and just, you know, John, if you want to communicate with John as your primary contact, and then whenever you guys have some initiatives, we can talk and socialize amongst us.
Okay, thanks.
Sound good? We really appreciate your time, and thank you for coming. Thank you for organizing such a great group.
My grandson loves it.
Are there any other questions from the public or comments? I don't see anybody on.
Nobody else on Zoom.
No Zoom, okay. The motion to adjourn. All those in favor? All right, very good. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Meeting.
Yeah.
Up here.